this up really quick. And if I have to slouch, I'll slouch. All right. Let's give it a few minutes here. If my computer works. Come on, come on. Hello everybody. I'm just was hoping to see this on my computer also to make sure I'm not upside down or anything this time, because last time I was. Go. Let me just turn that off. Okay. I think we're good. So I'm going to slouch real quick because I'm going to end up moving the camera so that you guys can see better of what I'm doing, because I really want you guys to see how to do this, because it's actually really, really simple. But first I'm just going to kind of explain what I'm doing, and then I'm just going to pull the camera over, so bear with me while I do that, and then I can show you exactly what to do. So what I decided to do for today, so we're going to go over some staining techniques. So what I ended up purchasing for the class is I just cut 2 pieces. This is called Stop. So if you go to like Home Depot or Lowe's and you want to buy this, it's going to be back in the molding department, and it's just called Stop. As you can see, it's pretty small and thin. But that's what's going to hold the palette together here on the back. So then I also purchased some 1x material to nail this all together. This is a 1x4, and then I cut it into 2-foot sections here so that I can put this all together as my palette. But first thing that I need to do is sand the edges, because when you get it cut at the store, it tends to have like a rough cut like that, which is okay for a palette look, but I just don't want to risk giving myself any splinters. So these are the materials that you're going to need to do this. So we have 3 pieces here of the 1x4. We have some sandpaper. We're going to do some gray stain, and we're going to mix it with some white acrylic paint so that you can kind of see how that goes together. And then I'm going to use the transfer today, the Hello Gorgeous or Good Morning, whatever one I decided to go with. Okay, just also really quick, I wanted to show you one other thing, that some other lumber from there too. So if you wanted to make a palette but you didn't want to stain it, you can get this also, which is pre-made, and it's really nice. So this is, you can see here it has like a texture to it, but it's a composite wood, so it's already pre-painted for you, so you could actually just put your design right on here, nail this together. This is also another piece they had also. This is called Ghost Wood, and it's also in the 1x department or section. So this is actually a really good wood to work with for palettes too, because it's already got this nice color on here. It looks nice and aged. So this is good stuff too for making a palette. But I'm going to just show the stain technique today, and then I'm going to finish up with putting my design on my palette. So let me show you this here. One second. Okay. All right, let me get the camera angled on here, so just give me a minute here to do that, if I can. Oh, I'm not very good at this. Whoa. How's that? It's not the best, but let me see if I can make this a little bit better. Viewers right now, anyway. Just stay. I wish it would just stay where I put it. Okay, we're gonna work with this. So basically we're just gonna show the stain technique and stuff anyway, and then I'll fix it. Okay, so here's my boards. Like I said, first thing that I'm gonna do is I'm gonna sand off the rough edges. So just get a piece of sandpaper from your store. I did the 120 grit just because that's what I like to work with. And it's actually really simple to get these rough edges off. I usually just do a couple like quick rubs on it, and then I just kind of look for any pieces that might be sticking off of the wood that could give me a splinter. And as you can see, that I think that looks fine. So let's put this here. That's going to be our top piece. So we have our next piece here. That's why it's nice to do this too, because if you break off a couple pieces like that, it actually gives it a little bit more character. But I still want to smooth out my edges, make sure I don't have any, get any squares. Actually looks pretty good, so this shouldn't really need much. Okay, we're good. So what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to do mine kind of on an angle because I kind of want them to offset each other a little bit. And I'm going to put, this is going to be the back of my pallet. So I just need to line up where I'm going to put my stop to hold everything together. And then I'm going to use screws to put this all together. You can also use nails if you want to, but I'm using some wood screws, 1 inch in size, so that it'll go through my board, but not enough to go all the way through to the front. So I'm just gonna line these up. I don't really measure, I mean, if you want to measure and make sure that everything is exactly even, you can. I really don't. I'm gonna just kind of give myself a tiny bit of a space in between, just so that it looks a little bit more like a pallet. Okay, and let me just get this lined up, and then I'm going to put these in place. So let me just get these going. I'm going to use 3 screws on each side. And I usually do the top board and then the bottom one, so that they don't kind of like move around, and then I can do the middle board and not worry about it. Whoa, whoops. I have these in place, and I can do the other side. If I need to move anything around, I can real quick before I put this in place. So I'm gonna do that really fast. And I guess I don't need this hammer. Brought it just in case I was gonna do nails, but I don't, or I'm not. Okay, so I think that looks okay right there. I'm just gonna put these in place. This twists a little bit too whenever you're putting this in. One more, we're in business. Okay, that is good. So let's flip it over, take a peek. So you can see we have our nice palette here. I just want to make sure these are nice and tight. So we have our nice palette here ready to go. So I'm going to stain the back first, just because I am not as worried about the back having the same exact look to it. I care more about the front. So I highly suggest using gloves, just because stain is pretty tough to wash off. It's an oil-based, I believe, or this might be the water-based. I think this is the oil-based one. So it's just not as easy to wash off afterwards. And then I also suggest that if you are, if you have a bunch of like old towels or something laying around the house, just cut those up into these like little rags here. And this is what I use to apply my stain with. I also use this sometimes too, because it's nice to where I can throw it away. All right, so I'm gonna get started here. Like I said, the back, I'm not that worried about. Get some things out of the way. And then I'm also going to show you here too how I get this set up. So I keep a little, just a really small amount of water right here. And what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna mix some white paint into the water so that it's nice and watered down, because that is actually what is going to do this technique. So I just take a glob of it, put it right in the water, stir it around. It doesn't have to be perfect. There's really no exact way of doing this. As you can see, it kind of globs up here. That's totally fine. It's actually kind of what I want. The watered down paint really makes the stain dry really fast, so that I can go right to applying my design. I am feeling better. I don't know what happened this morning. I was just not feeling very good. I also have this mat right here. This is just a plastic tablecloth. I get them literally from like Walmart. That way I can spill and do whatever I want and I'm not worried about it, because I think they were like $1. Okay, so first thing I'm gonna do is I'm gonna mix this stuff together. So I'm gonna show you how I do that. The best way to do it is to literally just start in stripes, and then you kind of like eyeball it to where you think you want to add more or less depending on color. So I'm going to use my 2 sponges first. So I'm going to start with my stain because that takes a little bit longer to dry, and I literally just go like this. I mean, it literally looks like you asked your kids to stain it. And you get lots of stain on here. I hope everybody can see too. This phone stand is not exactly the best, so it's not always the easiest to see. Okay, so I got some stain on here. So now I'm gonna start with some paint. And what I'm gonna do first is apply some actual thick acrylic paint to it. I don't know if you can see already, it's starting to bubble. When you mix the acrylic with the stain, it just really starts to like bubble up, and it's kind of interesting. It's really neat technique here. So So I want lots of white, literally just mixing it around on this board. I don't care where it goes. So now I'm gonna take a rag and I'm gonna start blending this. So I'm blending my white and my gray together to kind of give it, hopefully you can see here, to give it like this nice streak of color. So then anywhere that I can see to where I've missed spots, I can just go and throw a little bit more on. This is my favorite technique for doing any kind of woodwork, mainly because it's so fast. It is just so quick. You don't have to wait around for anything to dry because you're actually rubbing it, and then the paint is going to help it dry. And you don't have to worry at all about how it looks because you're just blending it. And this is also the back, so don't go too much to where you're going to stress yourself out. It's the back. It's going to be against your wall. Nobody's going to be looking at it, hopefully. If they do, then that's just not very nice. Okay, so like I said, this is the back. I'm going to kind of just go kind of quick on this one here for now, because the front is where I want to put most of my attention to. Now when I do my edges, the tops and stuff, I just use stain. I don't go too much into blending. I literally just stain it. And then I can see there's a couple spots here. So I literally just throw some stain on. Now I'm gonna rub the top because I don't want it to set in. You can see that nice color right there. Got like a nice wood color. Rub my sides here a little bit. Okay, I'm gonna flip it over, do the bottom, the top, whatever one I decide to do this on. Okay, now I'm gonna get the sides done. So I have these two, you can see I did the step down, so I need to make sure that those get covered also. If you want to do in between your cracks too, just in case if you think it'll show, I usually just shove a bunch of stain on there and wipe it off. And surprisingly too, this stain does not have a strong odor to it. I mean, I'm doing this in my kitchen right now, so it's not very strong smelling. So you can do this on these lovely snowy days like we have today. We are currently at, oh God, I don't know, 6 inches of snow up here. So this is the perfect day to do this. Side. I just want to wipe this really quick so that it doesn't sit too long like that. Let's get this side. First step down. Let's try and get in between here a little bit. Put a hole in this glove. Sides here, and then we'll do the front, which is the best part. Okay, so here we go. We got the front of the board ready to go. So can everybody see this? Let me just take a peek. On my video, you can see most of it, so that's good. Okay, so same thing on the front that we did on the back. Get our two sponges ready to go. This time I'm going to start with the white. And I'm literally just going to go like this. Throw a bunch of paint on here wherever it goes, because I'm going to add more later. So I don't really care where it goes or how much is on here yet. I will show you after how to add more. Okay, so let's get our stain. You kind of want to do this quick though. This isn't something though that you want to take your time and, you know, look at every little detail on it quite yet, just because it works better, you know, while everything's wet, blends together a lot better. All right, so let's get our rag here. You can see it kind of looks like tiger wood at the moment. Nice and striped. I'm just gonna rub this here. You can see, I think you can see, right? Yeah. So the paint that I'm using, Shorty, is I'm using a gray stain. It's an oil-based stain. You can also use, I think there's a brand out right now that it's a water-based stain, which if you can get it, I suggest using it. I really like the water-based stains better, but my store didn't have it. So I'm using a gray stain and then white acrylic paint, which is gonna be just your regular indoor white paint. You just go to the store and you literally grab a piece of white, I'm sorry, not a piece, a can of just regular white paint. And now see, as I'm doing this, so what I'm doing now, so I got most of this done. Now I'm filling in the spots. This is where now I can actually take my time and put some more detail into this, because I've got the base of it going. So I'm going to shoot for a little bit more gray color than the white here, just because I'm going to add a bunch of white on afterwards. So now where I see any holes, I'm going to use gray from here on out. You can do this in tan if you don't want gray. You can do a tan stain, and then you can do the white with it. It looks really nice too. I did that over the summer. You can also, instead of blending white into this, you can blend some black in if you would prefer a dark piece. I want mine to be pretty light though, because I'm going to be using black paste whenever I put my sign on here. Just keep rubbing it down. Rub it some more here. So I can see the wood through this, which is kind of the technique that I wanted. I wanted to be able to see some wood through it. I can see a lot though on the edges, so I'm just going to kind of squeeze my little foam brush in here and get the edges on the inside. It's a nice thing too about working with these things, because they go in very small spaces and you can destroy them because they usually come in big packs. This one here is not working so well for me, that's okay. Just make sure you always rub. After you put it on, rub it. You don't want dots, you want lines, full lines. If you do your edges, so let's see if I can show you. So like right here, for example, I have just a little piece of wood right here that's showing. So what I'm gonna do is just take a tiny bit of stain on my brush, and I'm just gonna kind of go this way with it to get that spot. And then you take your towel and you just rub it, just like that. That way it looks, it has more of the lines and stuff to it. So that's what I did. Okay, so this side, this looks pretty good here. I think I'm about ready to go with the rest. Okay, so I like what I have here. So I'm gonna stop now with the gray. Always put your lids back on your containers. I like what I have here as a base. So I'm going to now add some white on top to give it some streaks. So to do this, you do need a brush. You can get any of those. This is a nice, it's like a hard bristle, so that's gonna work good for me. You can also get those, they're just little tiny like wooden ones. They're real cheap, but they're really good to use for this stuff because the bristles are really, really just crazy and all over the place. So you can do this also. Let me just show you how to move some stuff really quick. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do. So this is the part where you kind of finish up the rest of your detail on this board. So this part is pretty important to make sure that you don't go heavy with this. This one we are doing very, very light. So first thing I do is I put my brush in my water mixture of the white paint and the water. So, and then kind of wipe it off because we don't want this to be soaking wet. We just want it to be wet enough to leave some lines. So what I do first is I just take it very light. Don't push straight down like you're painting a fence. Super light like that. Like you're just barely touching the board. Barely touching. And you can see that it's leaving some white lines across the top. So I'm gonna actually rub a little of this in. Just very lightly though. I feel like I actually need just a little bit more paint. So I'm just gonna dip my brush in the paint first and then barely in the water, wipe it off so that it's not too overly wet. I don't want water to go everywhere. The proportion of water that I'm using, I don't honestly measure. I do it by eyeball. So it really doesn't take much water at all. I mean, you can literally use whatever small containers that you have in your cupboard that you don't mind using for paint. And then I just fill it up. I don't know if I can show you here. So I just kind of fill it up and then I just scoop paint into it until I feel like it's thick enough for me. I mean, I don't want it thick. You can see it's super watery right now, but it's white. It's not very see-through, so that's what I want. That's the idea that I want because I just want this to go lightly over the top first. The water also, when you're putting this over the top, it helps dry the stain, which is very interesting to me. So it is actually, while I'm doing this, it's drying my stain. I don't know why. I haven't ever studied that to find out why, but so now I know that as I'm working with this, I'm going to be able to work with it faster. I don't have to sit around 24 hours and wait for this to dry. Okay, so I now have enough white on here of the watery mixture that I like. Now I'm gonna finish it up with just plain white stripes. So this part here, this part I'm going to, first I need to dry this off. And yes, I know I'm mixing stain and paint on my brush together, but I wash these really good when I'm done. So I want to dry this brush off as much as I can. I mean, it doesn't have to be super dry. I don't mean it like that. But so, okay, and now I want to just see if I can, spread these bristles apart enough so that I can get some stripes, because I want stripes on my board is what I want. So I'm going to dip in the paint first. I know my paint is pretty old. Literally, I just want a tiny bit. I don't want a bunch on the brush. I just want it on the tip. So now here's where you go even lighter. You literally just go as light as you possibly can to start. And you'll start seeing white lines. I need a little bit more paint. I think my brush is still a little wet. Whenever your brushes are wet and you're mixing with acrylics, it waters it down so much. So, okay, here we go. Let's see. I always try to come on from the edge because it will leave streaks, or it leaves like dots sometimes too. So I always try to start from my edge. And I really like those cheap bristle brushes so much for this because they're spread so far apart, like the bristles are. So don't go crazy on looking for thinking that you need expensive brushes to do stuff like this, because you really don't. Plus, when you work with stain, you can't just soak it in water when you're done. So that's why I like anything that I can throw away, because I really don't feel like messing around with mineral spirits and soaking my brushes and all that stuff. So just very light, very light. And anywhere that I feel like I need some more, just gonna go very light over. Thing is, you just don't want to go too crazy on this, because this we cannot rub off. I mean, you can always put more stain back on top and start over if you want to, but I just want enough to make it look like basically like chipped paint on a board. So let me start from my edge here. It's really light. Now I'm going to kind of use my rag because I feel like that I got a little too much right there. And I want some more here in the middle. I'm just going to lightly brush this on. Okay, and I just keep putting just a little bit on at a time because I can always add more. I don't want to overdo it. For some reason, this is not getting as white as I wanted it to be on the top board. And the other boards, I think, are looking really nice. This one. And so I just keep doing this until I'm happy with it. Which I'm almost there. I actually really like how this is looking right now. I mean, to me, this just looks like an old pallet piece of wood that has some spilled paint on it, some really old, anything that's just kind of what I like right now. It's kind of what's in right now. Okay, I am happy with this actually. I really like the way it is done right here. So I'm gonna put this stuff away. I'm gonna just go throw my brush in the sink really quick so that actually I have water right here. Never mind, I'll put that there because I don't want the paint drying up on my brush. But let me get these off the table here because I don't want to spill anything. It's what I'm notorious for, making a mess. Okay, so I'm just going to clean up my rags here and my brushes. Get all that stuff. And take your gloves off now. And so now the next step that I'm gonna do is I wanna dry this. So I'm going to use my blow dryer just to make sure that all of this paint is dry so I can start working with it. And honestly, it is almost dry. I can tell just by looking at it. There's just a couple spots that I feel like just need dried. So bear with me. Blow dry all the way. So now you guys have a board that has been stained and painted. It started off as just plain lumber, has now been stained and painted to look like a really old piece of wood. So we take new wood, make it look like old. The size of these boards are 1x4. So when you actually are at the store and you see the 1x4 on here, it's actually like a 3.5 inch piece. So that's how I measured my pieces for the back. I did 8-inch pieces on the back to put all these boards together, but these are 1x4s, and then I just did 24-inch slats on the side. Just to, I really didn't know what design I was going with, and I figured 2 feet would be good. So, all right, I'm gonna do this one though. This is the hello. I'm trying to remember, think, do I want it to say good morning or just hello? Because this is a nice bedroom piece. This is something really nice that you can put right in your bedroom. Be a nice gift for your husband also. It's not girly. We're not putting any glitter on it unless you want to. Just get it out of the plastic here. Okay. So let me get this cut apart. So these always come like this here where you can see where to cut these apart. So, and then I can lay it out on my board and I can see exactly where I want these to go. Let's see. Do we want this to say good morning, gorgeous, hello, handsome? Does that sound good?
Hello, handsome.
Hello, handsome. Or hello, gorgeous, hello, handsome? No, I like good morning. I like good morning, gorgeous, hello, handsome. As you guys, I don't know how many of my other videos that you have watched, I usually go into these not really having a plan ahead of time. Kind of think about it as I'm going. That's okay, because it just makes everything different. Okay, so I'm gonna put this aside. I don't really wanna use that hello. Okay, yes, okay, so can you guys see what I'm doing? No, you can't, okay. How about that? That's probably a little bit better. I'm sorry that it's backwards. I thought I flipped it the right way, but I think whenever I flipped it down so you guys could see what I was doing, it twisted it again. So I'm gonna do good morning, gorgeous. I kind of want my gorgeous to be fully on a plank though. So I'm gonna put this down a little bit. Good morning, gorgeous. And then I'm gonna do my hello, I think like that. Let's see, let me think, do I like that? Good morning, gorgeous. Do we want it here? Hello, handsome. No, I like it better like this, so gorgeous. Maybe my hello should be next to the handsome. Anybody have any tips, pointers, what you think looks better? Okay, well I know this one's gonna go here, so I'm just gonna put this on. So one more tip on this, this is a question that I get all the time. So people always hear about waxing your boards before using your transfers. So basically what that means is you can either spray it with a clear sealer, or they actually make some like Johnson & Johnson's wax, and you're gonna wanna buff it all over your wood. The purpose of doing that is because you don't want to put your transfer on the wood, and then when you peel it off, all of the wood come up with it. However, we just did a stain and paint technique on this board, so that sealed most of the wood on here. So when I do pull this up, I will probably have some pieces of wood or paint or something on the back of my transfer, but as long as it doesn't affect the holes here, it's totally fine. It'll still stick again. So I'm going to make a towel really quick because I do want to fuzz this. So I'm gonna peel this off. And I always just say, just kind of roll it with your finger. Takes it right off like that. Okay, I'm gonna stick it on here. Peel it off, let's see. Yep, that's good. Okay, so now I just need to figure out where I want it. So I want it like right here. I want the R as high as I can get it. So right there, looks good to me. So I'm just gonna rub this on my board. I'm gonna make sure that I get all of the spots open because we're using a black paste and the black is kind of thin, so it could go underneath the letters. So I'm just gonna rub that on there. Next we have good morning. Do a quick fuzz. And I want this kind of in the middle, I believe, like this. I'm actually, I'm gonna probably add some like twine and maybe a couple flowers or something to this board because I have a lot of open space here. I'm not gonna do that on the video though because I don't have it ready. Okay, so there we go, got that. I feel like the hello, this one, I can kind of put between the boards. You'll still be able to read it. It'll make it look kind of neat, I think. So, fuzz, stick. So I'm gonna do it right over here. I'm gonna put it actually, I don't know. Yeah, I think like this. I don't know. I think that looks fine. It's gonna have some holes there, but you can still read it. So some black paste is probably gonna go between these holes. So when you're done, you might wanna just take like a Q-tip or something and wipe that just to make sure, oh, I just stuck my hand in stain. Just to make sure that it doesn't stick up on your board or anything. Okay, let's get this out of the way here. Now we have handsome. Ooh. Stick this. Oh, I just need to take a peek at this really quick. It's sticking really good, actually. Should probably go a little bit faster here. Hello, handsome. There we go. Okay, so I'm gonna go one at a time, peel it off. I have my water ready over here. I'm just gonna get my paste out and a squeegee. And I have a popsicle stick. Okay, so I got my squeegee ready, get my paste nice and ready. It's really, really thin paste. The black is just really thin. So I'm gonna start with Gorgeous because I feel like it's sticking a lot and I kind of want to get it up off my board. So, all right, I'm just gonna take a scoop like this and I'm just gonna spread it right on here. So then I'm gonna just go left, or I mean, sorry, right, you guys are backwards. Right to left on my sign, just do a quick scoop. I'm gonna go get the bottom here. I don't want to go off the transfer though, so make sure you're paying attention to where your squeegee is going. Just gonna do one more wipe on this and we're in business. Okay, let me get that out of the way. I'm going to pull up my Gorgeous. I can feel how sticky it is, but it looks gorgeous. Okay, so let me get that in the water. Hold on 1 second. Sorry guys. Just don't want to ruin my transfers. If you let them soak in water too long, the backing will come off. So really, I would rather deal with hardened paste on my transfer than losing the stickiness to it. Okay, let me just get this off. Actually, I'll probably just throw it in the sink and deal with it after. Okay, there we go. Put this off to the side. Okay, let me just grab this here, dry my hands. Okay, so now I can just do the rest. I'm just gonna literally go kind of quick on this. And I'm gonna do each sign or piece and then peel it off. And I'm not gonna worry about rinsing it quite yet. So this one is a smaller one, so I'm gonna have to kind of go down on the letters instead of across. And that looks good. I also, if I missed the letter, I'm not worried about it because I mean, the board already itself is looking rustic. So fuzzing is basically, you want to take your transfer and stick it on a towel, or you can stick it on your jeans. Basically, the point of that is because you want to get a little bit of fuzz on the back of these transfers. So when you're working with them, they're not going to be as sticky to where when you're pulling them off, you're pulling everything on the backing up with it. It can also stretch them if they're not fuzzed and they're really, really sticky, and then you pull it off, it could stretch the transfer out also. So that is why you want to fuzz it first, because after you work with it, you're going to wash it anyway. You rinse it in cold water, but you can also take a like an antibacterial wipe and then wipe off the back of it if you have some fuzz still stuck to it, or you know, whatever. Like here in this case, I probably am going to have some wood on the back of these, so I'm going to take an antibacterial wipe. Let me show you. See, there's a little bit of paint on that. That's okay. I'm totally fine with that, because it's not affecting the transfer to where any of the letters are. So I'll still be able, how am I getting paste everywhere? So I'll still be able to reuse it numerous times. So that is why you want to fuzz it. Basically, you don't want to stretch them out, especially if you're working with glass. Whenever I work with glass, I try to fuzz a little bit, not too much, because I don't want to risk the ink getting behind the letters, but I also don't want to stretch out my transfer, which I have done many, many, many times. It happens. It's okay. What I usually do when that happens is I put it back on the backing, and then I put it inside a book, because when it stretches, it curls. And so I put it inside a book, and that reflattens it for me. Okay, so here we go. Oh, it looks good. There's only a little bit of ink in between there. So, I don't know if you guys can see. Let me turn it somehow to where you can see. So here we go. So we have our sign. This is what I meant here. I don't know if I can show you. I'm gonna try. So right where the O is, there's a little bit of paste that is kind of in between my boards. I mean, it's really no big deal, but I'm gonna probably try and wipe some of that off with like a Q-tip. But that's it. So then here's my board. I'm gonna let this dry, and then I'm gonna just take some twine like this, and I'm gonna staple it right to the back of my sign with a staple gun, which I can do that actually right now while you guys are here so you can see. Let me just dry this though, because I do not want this to get ruined. Nice thing about this paste, I mean, when it's dry, it is rock hard. It is not going to come off. If I want to remove it, I literally am gonna have to hose it down. I need a towel, here we go. So I'm gonna flip this over. I don't wanna get any stain on the front since we just worked so hard on it. Let's flip it over. Here's my sign. So I'm going to just staple some twine to the back. I hope you guys can see what I'm doing. Here we go. I'm probably gonna go, I don't want a lot sticking up when I'm hanging it, so I'm probably just gonna go close to the edge. I always tie a knot first. That way, if the twine is gonna slide at all on the staples, the knot's gonna catch it. So I'm gonna actually take this pretty far off to the side here, I feel like I wanna do. And then that way it'll have a nice tight pull if I hang it. All I have to do is literally put a screw in my wall, and I'm gonna double that up. Okay, so we got 2 staples here. Now I'm going to just kind of pull this with my finger of where I want the cord to go, which I really don't want much at all. So now I know that my knot needs to be right here. Okay, so now I'm going to staple this pretty close to about the edge of the board that I did with this one, I think. So Actually, I think I went a little too big there. Make it a smaller knot. All right. That's good. Okay, so now I'm going to just put this one here. 2 staples. Okay, so now I'm going to trim these off. You don't really have to because it's the back of your board, but I'm just going to trim that off really quick. Okay, so there we go. Now my board can hang on my wall just by like a nice piece of twine. So give me 1 second to get the camera fixed, and then I'll show you holding it straight up. This is crazy. Let's see here. Can you guys see? Kind of. Oh gosh, it's so crooked. Okay. So now this is the completed project. So as you can see, when you hang it on your wall, this is exactly how it will hang. Just like that. So that's it, guys. So as you can see, you can make yourself a nice pallet sign in the matter of, how long have I been on here? I don't know. I can't really tell.
An hour.
An hour? Okay. So it takes an hour to literally turn some whitewood lumber into an old rustic pallet with some words, beautiful words, that now I can hang above my bed or wherever I want to. So if you guys have questions or you want to try this at home and you want me to help, I can always like FaceTime or something like that to help you guys out also. So anything else? Have a great day, guys. I'm going to enjoy my snowstorm. All right.